Hey there, and welcome. So let's talk about something that's quietly protecting your biggest investment, your home. I'm talking about your siding. It's easy to forget about it until, well, something goes wrong. But it's so much more than just what makes your house look good. It's a critical shield. So today, we're going to get into how you can keep that shield in perfect fighting shape. Yeah, exactly. Think of it like this. Your house is wearing a literal coat of armor against rain, wind, sun, you name it. But what happens when that armor gets a crack? Even a tiny one. That's what we're really digging into. Because believe me, even a small chink in that armor can spiral into some really big problems down the line. All right, first things first, let's talk about your home's warning signs. We're going to learn how to spot trouble early. Seriously, this is the key. Catching these things before they get out of hand can save you so much hassle and a ton of money.
Okay, sign number one, and this is probably the most obvious one you'll see, cracked siding. Now, it's super easy to look at a small crack and just think, it's just cosmetic, no big deal. But trust me, that little crack is like rolling out the welcome mat for water, bugs, and all sorts of things you do not want getting inside your walls.
And here's a tricky one. Sign number two, water leaks. What's so sneaky about this is that the first clue might actually show up inside your house. So, you spot a weird water stain on a wall or your ceiling. Your brain immediately goes to, oh no, the roof is leaking, right? But, and this is important, a lot of the time, the real culprit is your siding. Water's getting in through a crack outside and making its way in. And sign number three is something you can spot just by looking. Is your siding fading? Or even worse, is it starting to warp or bulge or look a little bubbly? That's a huge red flag. It's basically your siding telling you, hey, I'm getting old and the sun and rain are really starting to wear me down. When you see that, it means its ability to protect your home is getting weaker by the day.
So, okay, you see these signs. What's the big deal if you wait a little while? Well, this is why it matters. The risks of waiting are pretty serious. We're talking about water getting in and causing rot. That's actual structural damage. Those little gaps, perfect doorways for pests. And on top of all that, when your siding's compromised, your home's insulation takes a hit, which means, you guessed it, your energy bills start creeping up. It's a triple threat.
Okay, moving on. Let's talk about decoding your siding's damage. Because here's the thing, not all materials are created equal. The type of siding on your house completely changes the game when it comes to what can go wrong and how to fix it. And this chart breaks it down perfectly. Let's start with vinyl, which is super common. You're mostly going to see cracking or damaged panels. The fix is usually just popping out the bad one and putting in a new one. Oh, and here's a little pro tip. If you ever get new vinyl siding, ask for a few extra panels. Keep them in the garage. That way, if you need a repair years later, you've got a perfect color match ready to go. Now, for wood, you're up against different enemies, rot and insects, so the repair is more involved, like replacing whole boards and then, of course, patching and painting. And with aluminum, it's all about dents and corrosion. All right, this leads us to the big one, the question every homeowner with siding issues has to face. Is it time to repair or replace? This is a huge decision, so let's walk through how to make the right call for your home. This is a great way to look at it. So, when does a simple repair make sense? Well, if the damage is just in one or two spots, like a few cracked panels, and you know the wall behind it is still solid, repair is probably your best bet, especially if the siding is still relatively new. But you've got to start thinking replace when the problem is everywhere, like widespread rot or warping, or if your siding is just plain old and past its lifespan. And honestly, sometimes replacement is just the better long-term financial move. And of course, let's talk about money. What actually goes into the final price? Well, a few key things. First, the material itself. Some are just more expensive than others. Second, the sheer size of the repair. Third, how complex is the job? Are there tricky corners or high gables? And finally, a big one. What labor costs look like where you live? All those things factor into the final bill.
Okay, so you've decided you need to bring in a professional. The next question is, how do you find someone you can actually trust? Here's a quick checklist to help you find a reliable expert.
First up, do your homework. Check online reviews on sites like Google or the Better Business Bureau. You're looking for a pattern of happy customers. Step 2, and this one is absolutely non-negotiable. Make sure they are licensed and insured. This protects you. Number 3, ask about a warranty. Any reputable pro will stand behind their work. And finally, if you can, look for specialists who are certified by the company that made your siding. That's a great sign they really know their stuff.
Okay, to finish up, let's do a quick fire round. We're going to tackle some of the most common questions homeowners have about all this stuff. Ready?
First question, and it's the one everybody's thinking. What's the average price for a siding repair?
How much is this going to set me back?
You know, the real answer is, it's all over the map. A really minor fix, like replacing a couple of vinyl panels, you might be looking at just a few $100. But if they open it up and find a ton of hidden water damage and rot underneath, the costs can easily jump into the thousands. There's just no way to know for sure without getting a professional to come out and give you a detailed estimate.
Okay, next question is a good one, especially if you're maybe thinking about replacing your siding down the road. What type of siding is the easiest one to repair?
And for this one, vinyl siding usually takes the prize. It's because of how it's designed. It's basically a system of interlocking panels. So a damaged piece can often just be unclipped and a new one snapped into place. It's a huge advantage compared to other materials that might need cutting, patching, and painting.
All right, last question, and it's the ultimate DIY debate. Can I just fix this myself, or do I really need to bite the bullet and hire a professional?
So here's the honest breakdown. Look, for a super minor, purely cosmetic fix, a DIY approach might be okay. But the risk is huge. You could seal it wrong and trap moisture in, or worse, you could be covering up a much bigger problem lurking underneath the surface. A pro, on the other hand, knows exactly what to look for. They have the right tools, the experience. They're going to make sure the job is done right the first time, which, let's be honest, saves you a ton of money and stress in the long run.
You know, this quote from the source material really sums it all up perfectly. Protecting your home's exterior is crucial, and finding prompt, reliable siding help is a priority. It's just that simple. It's your home's main line of defense, and keeping it strong is one of the best things you can do.
And that brings us right back to the beginning, doesn't it? Your siding is your home's armor. It's standing guard, protecting everything and everyone you care about inside. So I'll just leave you with this one question to think about. Is it time to check yours? Thanks so much for tuning in.